Hi, my name's Bren. This is an evening yin class for all levels. You won't need any props in order to participate. You're welcome to lay some blankets or some extra padding on top of your yoga mat or your practice space. Put your comfy clothes on, and when you're ready to get started, we're going to begin in child's pose. There are a couple options for child's pose. Starting from tabletop, you could keep the knees and the feet towards the midline and stack up your hands or fists to rest the forehead on. Another option is to spread your knees wider than your hips, big toes towards each other behind you. Send your hips back towards your heels and stretch your arms out overhead. Maybe the forehead touches down on the mat. In our yin style practice, we'll spend about 2 minutes in each of these postures, and I'd like you to spend the first maybe 30 seconds of each pose settling in and finding a posture that feels sustainable. I don't intend for you to stay frozen in an uncomfortable position, so do take the time you need to wiggle around or try out a couple different options. And then we'll try to settle into something that feels sustainable for the rest of our time there. Some of the benefits of our yin practice come from that relative stillness. So perhaps once you've found your chosen variation, you can resist some of the urges to fidget or move. Arriving to our practice here, settling in this first posture, you might draw your awareness towards a particular anchor point to help keep your thinking mind present with your body. One anchor point might be the movement of breath. You might feel the belly or the rib cage expanding as you inhale. And if you find yourself thinking about the past or the future, kindly invite your awareness to come back to that feeling of breath moving. We'll spend about 1 more minute here. Let's watch 3 more cycles of breath happen on their own in our child's pose. We'll try to make our movements slow and smooth, nice and slow. Start to bring yourself back towards that all fours position. Once you're there, it might feel nice to extend the legs behind one at a time and stretch out the knees that have been bent. The next place we're headed is Sphinx pose. In Sphinx pose, we lie all the way down onto the belly. You could start by resting your chin or your forehead on folded arms. And you can check in with sensation you're feeling in the lower back and in the abdomen. This might be the right amount of sensation for you. Others may like to prop themselves up onto their forearms, elbows perhaps beneath the shoulders. You might step your feet towards the edges of your mat behind you. Arriving here in our Sphinx pose, do take a bit of time to settle in and find a variation of this that feels appropriate for your body this evening. Once you find that, you might soften your eyes or close your eyes. Perhaps you can focus your awareness on the points of contact between your body and the mat. So you can be scanning through your body and noticing the different places that your body touches down. If you get distracted, that's okay. You might smile to yourself when you notice you're distracted, and then kindly invite your attention to come back. We're counting points of contact right now. Noticing those points in the body that make contact with the mat beneath you. You can breathe into a soft belly, and you might feel that expansion against your mat. Let's watch 3 more of those breaths go by on their own. If you're up on the forearms, as you're ready, start to inch your elbows wider apart and come to rest the forehead or one cheek down on stacked hands. To help release the lower back, we might wiggle the hips from side to side, or it might feel good to bend the knees, feet up towards the ceiling, and send your feet from side to side. Next, we're headed for half frog pose. We're going to slide the right knee along the floor up towards the hip, inner right ankle resting down. Perhaps the left cheek is resting on those stacked hands. Inviting muscles in the body to soften. Resting heavily down on the surfaces beneath you. Another focal point we can use to help keep our thinking minds focused are sounds in the room. There might be a fan in the background, or maybe you can hear some traffic noise outside. Are there sounds you can hear that can help anchor your mind to the present moment anytime you find yourself thinking about the past or the future? Notice what sounds you can hear. Another minute or so in this position. Coming back to sounds you might be hearing. Moving really slow, maybe a little slower than you want to. We'll start to slide that right knee back towards the midline. Take a little wiggle if you like, and we'll find our half frog on the other side. Resting the right cheek down now, we'll slide the left knee up along the floor towards the left hip. Inner left ankle resting down. Take a few moments to wiggle around and settle in. And see if you can come to find some relative stillness. Perhaps resisting the urge to fidget or move. I like to resist the first 1 or 2 fidgets that come up. But if the body asks a third time for me to adjust, then I will adjust my position. Inviting muscles to soften, allowing your body to rest heavily down against the mat. You could watch 3 more cycles of breath happen here. As you're ready, moving even slower than you may like to. Super slow, draw that left leg back towards the midline. You can find a little wiggle or a way to help reset your body after that long-held posture. Our next shape begins from a seat, so when you're ready, you can start to press your way up back through all 4s. And then we'll find seated, legs extended ahead of us. Next is our dragonfly or a seated, wide-legged posture. So with legs extended, start to step the feet wider than hips. This doesn't need to represent as far apart as you can possibly take your legs today. This might be about 70% effort. We'll start by sitting up tall. You might use the help of the hands beside your hips to help support your upper body. Inviting the muscles in the lower body to soften. Maybe the feet flop one way or the other. Invite the muscles in the thighs to relax. Sometimes mine need a bit of a reminder. It's time to relax now. And we have an opportunity to add a forward fold to this wide-legged shape. So you can start with fingertips touching down in front of you. And you can round the chin down towards the chest. See if you can keep the lower body relaxed. You're welcome to round yourself forward, start to point your forehead down towards the floor. When I enter this posture, I like to do a little bit of rocking side to side. So you might join me in making some slow, gentle semicircle motions with the upper body. And eventually you'll reach your edge, this place where you feel plenty of sensation, but not so much sensation that it causes you to hold your breath or clench your teeth. We'll bump up against that reasonable maximum and pause there. You might notice if there's any unnecessary tension present in the forehead or the jaw. And for another minute or so here, you might notice sensations on the surface of your skin. There might be the feeling of air moving, or you can sense the temperature. Perhaps there's some tingling or pressure sensation, becoming curious about sensations on the surface of the skin. If you find yourself thinking about the past or the future, that's okay. See if you can kindly invite yourself to come back to the present moment. We're paying attention to sensations on the skin right now. And we could spend about 3 more breaths here. You might make your next couple breaths a little softer or a little longer than the last. You might challenge yourself to move really slow from your forward fold, like you're in slow motion, inching your hands in and very gradually finding your spine upright once again. Once you're sitting upright, it might feel nice to roll the shoulders up, back and down. You might even lean back on the hands and find some broadness around the collarbones. You could lift the chin a little. You might use the help of the hands to very gently draw the legs back towards center. It doesn't need to look graceful. You might use the help of the hands to inch your knees and your feet back in. After that extension with the legs, you might spend a moment hugging the legs in with bent knees. Our next posture begins from a reclined position. We'll begin by laying down on the back and finding knees bent and feet touching down. If you have the space, you can extend your arms out at either side. You might have bent elbows. And we have 2 options for a reclined twist. You may keep your feet touching down and allow both knees to fall over towards the left. It's okay if they hang out in the air. You might find a way to arrange your legs to feel a bit of support beneath them. Another option is to lift the feet up off of the floor and find your upside down tabletop, and then allow your bent knees to fall over towards the left from there. You can keep your gaze up towards the ceiling, or you might look one way or the other. Take a few moments to try out what would feel best, and then see if you can settle into some relative stillness. And for about 2 minutes here, where will you choose to place your focus? You might feel the movement of breath, or points of contact between your body and the surfaces beneath you. You might listen for sounds in the room, or feel sensation on the surface of your skin. Where will you choose to place your focus for about 1 minute here? You might start to press down with the left arm to help bring your legs back through center. You don't need to make a symmetrical choice. Those two options for a twist are to have the feet touching down and let the knees fall towards the right. You might rearrange the legs to feel a bit of support beneath them. Another option is to lift the feet away from the floor, and from your upside down tabletop, let both knees fall over towards the right. Find a comfortable position for the head and neck. Get out some wiggles if they're here. And settle in. What will you choose to focus your thinking mind upon to keep yourself present with your body in this moment? You might notice breath, sensations, or sound. There's no limit to the number of times you can invite yourself back to presence. This is our time for gentle paying attention. observing as a couple more cycles of breath go by. As you're ready, you might start to press down with the right arm to help bring your legs back through center. And next, we'll find our Shavasana, final resting pose. Make this your most comfortable resting position. You might lay on the back with limbs extended, or you might prefer to keep the knees bent. You're welcome to lean up against the wall or find any other comfortable way to spend a couple minutes. Settling into that most comfy position and allowing your body to soften, supported by the surfaces beneath you. Inviting facial muscles to soften. The forehead can become smooth. Releasing tension from the jaw. The head is resting down. Invite muscles in the neck to soften and relax. Shoulders melt down towards the floor. Space around the collarbones can soften. Space around the shoulder blades on the upper back can soften. Awareness moving down each arm, upper arms and elbows resting. Muscles in the forearms relax. Awareness through the wrists and into the hands. Palms and backs of the hands relax. Inviting each finger and thumb to soften and relax now. Arms can feel long and heavy and relaxed. Breathing into a soft belly. The waist and lower back can also be soft. Allowing the weight of the pelvis to rest down, fully supported by the surface beneath it. Seat muscles can relax. Muscles around your hips can relax. Attention moving into the legs. Muscles in the thighs can soften and release some tension. Upper legs relax now. Muscles in the lower legs soften and release. Awareness through the ankles and into the feet. Tops of the feet releasing tension. Soles and arches can spread and soften. You might notice each of your toes one at a time. All the toes can relax. Feet can relax. Legs can rest long and heavy. How would it feel to breathe in and out of this body right now? How does it feel to breathe in and out of this body? You can stay with the breath, or you can drift away for about 1 minute here. How does it feel to breathe in and out of this body? You might start to deepen that breath. Next time you inhale, filling up your lungs all the way. When you exhale, you might sigh out the mouth. Inviting some gentle movement, like wiggling fingers and toes. If you have the space, it might feel nice to take a big stretch, or you could curl up into a little ball. If you've been lying on the back, it might feel supportive to roll to one side and pause there for a couple breaths. And as you're ready, you can press yourself up to a comfortable seat. You're in no rush to get there. In a seated position, you might bring hands together in front of the chest or find another comfortable gesture. And I'll invite you to spend a couple moments here. You might think about what you have to be grateful for today. You might visualize behind closed eyelids what you have to be grateful for today. When you're ready, you can start to blink the eyes open. Thank you very much for sharing your practice with me this evening. I hope you have a wonderful sleep.